Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. Today it is time for the second part of my bookshelf tour. So here we go. I know you guys have been anxiously awaiting the second part of my bookshelf tour. And if you haven't, you're getting it anyway, because that's what I planned for this video. So I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. Make sure that you do all this stuff right here on the bottom of the screen so that you can help support my channel. Make sure to share this video with your friends if they enjoyed books and bookshelf tours and all that good stuff too. And let's have at it, guys. So the last video, which if you haven't seen it, you need to see my first shelf. You might enjoy that. I'll leave a link in the cards at the end and in the description below so you can go check that out. And that was mostly my Neil Gaiman shelf. Today we've got a little bit more variety. So let's take a look at what I've got. And I'm gonna move my dragon, but as you can see, I've got my my lovely ornate dragon keepsake box on this shelf. But I'm going to move that down here to the third shelf. Well, actually, no, I'll put him up there on the first shelf for now. That way you can still behold him in his grandeur, and have something to distract you a little bit if you get bored. I don't think you'll get bored, but in case you do, there he is. Okay, so let's start off with The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a prequel to The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and it takes place most of it takes place in the first and second ages of Middle-earth. So if you kind of know the timeline, The Lord of the Rings takes place in the third age, where magic is slowly beginning to die away from the earth, or from Middle-earth, I should say, although it feels like the earth. But in this volume, it's covering primarily the first and second ages. So we have the creation of Middle-earth that's expounded on in this book. You learn about some of the races and how they came into being, and you get a lot of genealogies in here and stuff like that of the different races and the different families of the dwarves and the elves and the humans as well. And just a really fascinating book, just to kind of give you an idea of some familiarity you might have with this book. If you saw the Lord of the Rings movies, the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, where it shows the armies battling with the forces of Sauron and defeating Sauron, that comes from this book. So really, really good. I highly recommend it. And of course, I've showed this before. This is my 3-volume set of the illustrated editions of Lord of the Rings. Just a fantastic set. I won't get them out and show the illustrations because I've done that in other videos. My last book haul video, I talked about these. So you can check that out if you want to. But it's kind of cool. I didn't plan this, but these are the same pattern and everything to the Silmarillion. So it kind of makes a set. So that's kind of cool. And continuing on with Tolkien, no Tolkien collection would be complete without The Hobbit. Now, there is a volume of The Hobbit like these, the Silmarillion and the Lord of the Rings, in that series, but I don't have that one. But I do have this one, and it is also illustrated. Just a fantastic little book that I was able to get a hold of. And well, it's not little, but you know, it's a nice illustrated edition of The Hobbit, and I'm very excited to have that on my hands. So, you know, just I've always loved The Hobbit. I think I've read it 3 times, once by myself and twice with my kids. It's a lot of fun. So, highly recommend The Hobbit, which most of you I think have already read The Hobbit, probably. But if you haven't, pick up The Hobbit. It's a great tale. I still have my original copy of The Hobbit. This is the one I read with my kids and everything like that. So it has a lot of special meaning for me. And yeah, so that's my original copy. The next one is The Children of Húrin by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now this is part of the Histories of Middle-earth. It talks about the children of Húrin, as it says in the title. I don't remember a whole lot about this book. It's been a long time since I've read it. I remember it not being my favorite of the Middle-earth tales, but it was good. It was still a good read. So this was a gift to me by a friend, and I'm very happy to have it. So. And the next one is Fire and Blood. Yes, that's right, no more Tolkien. We're moving on to George R.R. Martin. George R.R. Martin is one of my favorite modern fantasy authors writing. Yes, I do believe he is still writing. It's going slow, but he is still writing. And he put out this volume a few years ago. It tells the history. I believe it takes place 1,000 years, or maybe more than that, before the events of a Game of Thrones. So it details the histories of the Targaryen family, when dragons still roamed the earth. And I haven't read this yet, but it's on my list of books to read soon. And I'm very excited to get into it. So if you're a fan of the Song of Ice and Fire series, why don't you own this book? And if you do, bravo, bravo. I cheer you on. Okay, so now that we've talked about George R.R. Martin's prequel to the Song of Ice and Fire, we must talk about the Song of Ice and Fire. So this is the first 5 books, which are the only books in the series so far. Still waiting on book 6, but anyway, some of my favorite books of all time. I will probably end up having to read them again before, or once book 6 comes out, because not that I've forgotten everything. I haven't forgotten a whole lot of stuff, but I just want to have a fresh head when I pick up book 6 to read it. So very excited to have these in my collection. They are a must-have for any Game of Thrones fan who likes to read fantasy as well. So if you only like the TV series, that's fine, but this is where the real kit and caboodle resides. And let's start with this one that is standing up right now. This is my collector's edition of, well, it's a minor collector's edition, I like to say. It's not a full-fledged, fully illustrated collector's edition, but it is a fancier edition of Dune. Again, one of my favorite novels of all time. Definitely my favorite science fiction novel of all time. And it has elements of fantasy in it too. So I think of it as kind of a sci-fantasy. But I was able to get a hold of this beautiful edition of Dune, and I'm getting ready for a reread of Dune sometime in the near future. So, got to be prepared. You know, it's got the nice sprayed edges. Oh my, oh my. I'm going to set this down here for just a moment while we can look at some of the other little books on my shelf, and I think I'm going to switch over here. Is that better? Do you like this vantage point? Okay, here we go. The next book is Treasure Island. This is a Barnes & Noble edition, just a cheap paperback Barnes & Noble edition. Really, really great book, though. Such a great story. If you love pirates, you got to read Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Oh my goodness gracious. Such a classic. And I'll use this opportunity to plug the TV series Black Sails, which is kind of a prequel to Treasure Island. Well, it is a prequel to Treasure Island. You need to watch it, though, if you're a fan of Treasure Island. It's not for kids, though. This is a good one for kids, especially if you enjoyed the Disney movie Treasure Island. But Black Sails is definitely for adults, and we'll just leave it there. But watch it, read it, you know the drill. Yeah. The Picture of Dorian Gray, another cheap paperback Barnes & Noble edition. Man, this book blew me away. The ending of the book blew me away. This is just an instant classic of classic literature. And it follows the character Dorian Gray, who has a painting made of his likeness, and he goes on to live a very lascivious and sadistic lifestyle. He slowly ages over many, many years, or at least his painting does, and turns darker and more dismal and more deformed as his life goes on, based on the deeds that he does. And then the ending, of course I won't spoil the ending, I'm just kind of letting you know the hits of the story, but the ending will blow you away. In fact, I need to read this book again at some point to figure out the ending, because the ending of Dorian Gray could go two ways. You could look at it in two different ways. I am firmly convinced. So, good, really good book. Blade Runner. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is the actual title. But, they had to, keep it in line with the movie that was made of it. So they retitled it Blade Runner. But, you've got the little fine print there that says, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? That is what this book is. Fantastic book. It's a really great sci-fi novel, dystopian, very post-apocalyptic in many ways. And you would think that such an off-the-wall title has nothing to do with the story, but you would be surprised it does. You just have to read the book. And if you've ever seen the movie, I think most people watching this have probably seen Blade Runner, and maybe even Blade Runner 2049, which was a fantastic sequel. I loved it. This is the origin story for Blade Runner. So give this book a shot. Highly recommend it. It's short. Yeah. Fahrenheit 451. Again, another classic dystopian novel by the genius that is Ray Bradbury, about firemen who no longer have to put out fires, but they are out to burn all books of knowledge. And just a fantastic tale about the power of thought and individual choices and determination. Oh, such a good book. Don't watch the movie. Or, well, I forget if there was an older movie made of it, but don't watch the new movie. It's probably not worth your time. But I do have a video where I do a review of this book, so you could check that out. Meddling Kids. I love this book. And I've got a review on it as well. If you want to check it out, you can find it in the eons down my channel rabbit hole. Meddling Kids is a Lovecraftian take on a Scooby-Doo mystery. In fact, this is so eerily close to the old Scooby-Doo mysteries, but for adults. If you love Scooby-Doo, you would love this book. It's so much fun. So, highly recommend this one. Meddling Kids by Edgar Quintero. Now, The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. I absolutely adore this book. Whether you're a fan of the Kingkiller Chronicles or not, whether you love them or you hate them, I think most people can agree that have read the books anyway, that they love the character Ari. And this book is taken from Ari's perspective. And it follows her as she traverses the Underthing and tidies up her world. And you just get a glimpse into her mind and a deeper character study of Ari. So really fantastic book. It got a lot of crap by critics, and I don't know why. It's just a beautiful book. So I highly recommend it. You probably should read the Kingkiller Chronicle first, at least the first book, The Name of the Wind. Probably read The Wise Man's Fear too. But if you don't want to read either of those, this is a good standalone book too. So, yeah. And finally on this shelf is a Phoenix Comic Con edition of selected stories from the first Unfettered book, compiled by Sean Speakman. He was the general editor. Sean, if you don't know, is the web druid for Terry Brooks. Really, really great guy, and he wrote, he compiled the first set of short story collections under Unfettered, and there's been, since then, there's been an Unfettered 2 and an Unfettered 3, and maybe there's even a fourth one, and he's spearheaded a lot of other anthologies as well. So really, really great book, and there's some really cool stories in this special Comic-Con edition. So I was lucky enough to be at that Comic-Con and meet Terry Brooks, and I met Sean Speakman as well, and got this edition. I got it signed. Got a lot of signatures from the authors in there. So yeah, very cool edition. And that concludes the second part of my bookshelf tour. Now don't go anywhere. I'm going to do another one. I don't know when that will be, but you will get a third part to my bookshelf tour, and a fourth, and maybe a fifth. We'll see how things go. If the fourth shelf goes fast enough, I may combine it with the fifth shelf, but we'll see. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do that yet. So stay tuned. I am going to be doing some really cool things here coming up in the near future, one of which is my Booktubeversary. That is right. I have another Booktubeversary coming up. The second Friday of August is officially my Booktubeversary. So this will be my second year officially on BookTube. So if you are interested and you want to ask me some questions, my plan right now is a Q&A, so leave your questions for me in the comments down below, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. And that's it from me today, guys. Make sure you're reading more books, and I will see you very, very soon. Take care.